Hi, I'm Natalia Muñoz of Holyoke Media with Iohann, Rashi, Vega, also of Holyoke Media, and today we're speaking with Police Chief Manny Febo. One of the questions we have for you right off the top, Chief, is the firecrackers. As you know, they've been popping all over the city, not just in Holyoke. It's been going on in Boston, it's been going on in Chicopee, it's been going on everywhere. People ask, where are the police? What's your response?
My response is just, first of all, this is, like you had mentioned, this is a national problem this year. This is worse and than any other year that we've had that I ever remember. And I've been on this job 25 years, but I was born and raised in Holyoke. So I've never heard it, seen it. It's out of control. There's no doubt about it. The reality of it is this is a busy time of year for us. I mean, we have all kinds of working on a pandemic, but coming into the warm weather, we have to prioritize. At the end of the day, it's not going to make me popular to say it, but it's the truth. It's a noise complaint and it's a quality of life issue. I take quality of life issues very seriously, but when we look at the reality of the calls and volumes of calls we have this time of year, we're getting reports of actual shootings. We get shots fired. We get gang members that are out and about. Drug deals going on in the open, and we're addressing things like that. We have domestics, we have overdoses. I mean, we're running around pretty busy this time of year. And so it becomes like, where does the fireworks and the noise complaints come in? And we fit them in between the calls. It's not that we don't respond, but we might not get there for 10 minutes because we're prioritizing and maybe we're distributing. We all carry Narcan now, and we've been pretty frequently using it. So it just has to be prioritized. A lot of times I get emails every day about the firecrackers. I've spoken to the mayor, I've spoken to most counselors about it. And even the emails say that, we call the police and by the time the police come, they're gone. And that is a big part of the problem. We can't be everywhere. I think you alluded to that in your opening statement. I want to address it. I want to do better. Springfield wants to do better. I'm looking at the federal level across the country that everybody wants to do something. I want to make quality of life in Holyoke a priority, and it is. It's just that there's no perfect answer. I don't have the answer. I don't have the resources to put a 10-man team on the road to address fireworks right now. It's a busy time of year for us every year. And it's just unfortunate. I've never seen anything like it, and I don't have great answers other than we are going to respond the best we can. And really, that's it for that, I think. Okay.
I could be totally wrong, but I thought maybe this has to do because high school students couldn't have their graduation. And maybe people are just frustrated by being inside all these months because of COVID-19, that they're just making noise. And that's all I know. That's all I got, Chief.
Right. Typically, annually, we have maybe even a couple of weeks coming up to the July 4th. We start getting calls and start coming in. Initially, it's shots fired until people started adjusting that, okay, they're not shooting. It's just that they're fireworks. And it starts a couple weeks out from July. But this started like 6 weeks ago, maybe even 8 weeks ago. It was like shocking at the time. And it's just been consistent. What the answer is, why people are doing it, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of thoughts and theories, and nobody knows. I mean, none of them are right or none of them are wrong. It could be a little combination of everything, but they are illegal. And if we catch somebody, they will be fined. It's very difficult to catch them. It's very difficult to prioritize. I understand people are frustrated. They get woken up. I live in the city. I woken up a few times at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm thinking it's a weekday. Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and act like I have all the answers. I don't. I want to do a great job. I think our guys are out there. I know our police department is out there every day putting their lives on the line and doing a great job and doing, and we care about community and we care about quality of life issues, but quality of life issues, as far as the noise complaints go, we have to just prioritize our resources. And when we do, we look at responding to, people are complaining that they're dealing drugs right outside their front door and their kids can't play in their yard. So we got to do that. I mean, that has to come first.
Are the calls starting to increase again at the police department versus 3 months ago?
Yeah, well, I would say, look, putting COVID on the shelf right now for a second, just historically, the warmer weather, every single year we get busier as the weather gets warmer. It's our busiest time of year. Spring and into summer is always very, very busy for us. And it's twofold. We have a problem where our guys actually, some guys go on vacation. That's when we take our vacations and things like that. We do stay fully staffed. We have a minimum manning and all that things and stuff like that. We're busier in the summer than we are in the winter. So, but with COVID opening back up, people really, really want to get outside this year. They really want to go out and do things, and that's great. And I think we are, as far as COVID going in Massachusetts, all in the right direction. Fantastic. And our police department has been fully staffed throughout the whole thing. We've been taking all precautions, masks, and we largely unaffected because the guys are doing the right thing. They come in every day and they sterilize their cruisers. We just did all the right things, and the community's doing all the right things. Everybody, you go to the grocery stores, they're wearing masks. Get a little sidetracked, but the reality is we are busy this time of year, and we're busier than 3 months ago, but we are every year.
Recently, there was a large manifestation of Black Lives Matter. You were invited to walk with them, to march with them. You said you would love to. You also issued a statement. Since that moment that you said that, do you feel the department is behind you on this?
Yes, 100%. And this is a great opportunity for me to I'll just tell you, and I tell everybody that'll listen to me. I believe, and I truly believe this, I'm not a politician, and I just speak, I'm a straight shooter. That doesn't make me popular always, probably not with my fireworks reality statement, but the deal is we have a community focus here. We should be a model for police departments across the country. If you look, and this isn't just because of what's going on now, if you look back almost 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, what we did is we took our SWAT truck, our tactical truck, and we turned it into a mobile community. We took out all the heavy equipment and we put in coloring books. We put in flyers for detox and outreach. We partnered with BHN for mental health services. 90+% of the department has had a 40-hour full week training of de-escalation and how to deal with people who are having crisis issues, using arrest only as a last resort, getting them to services, getting them the contacts that they need through any, whether it's bringing them to the hospital to have them deal with any medical issues or mental health issues. We've been doing this stuff for a very long time. This isn't soup of the day for us. We're not scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. We are model. We have 5 full-time police officers here who are paid for by grant money and all they do is they go out and they get people who are out on the street and they offer them detox and then long-term services. I've been working with the sheriff. Coach, he's been fantastic. He's a great partner. The Massachusetts State Police are a great partner, and we have sheriffs working with our grant officers every single day in the city just to get people help and resources, get them off the street. And we understand relapse is part of recovery and all of that. I believe most police departments could look at us and learn a lot. And so we're not doing anything really new. We're just continuing to do what we do. And we do have a strong young department, community focus. We don't get complaints. You don't see what's going on around the country here. You just don't.
How the community can be of assistance? How can we all help in terms not only, of course, of the fireworks being a big concern right now, but in general, when you mention mental health issues, when you mention potential overdoses and homelessness and other issues that are happening in our city, how can we help the police department?
Well, I think as far as, we'll touch one thing at a time, the overdose issue. It doesn't, anybody you should almost have Narcan available in almost every household. And I'll tell you why I say that, because you have, sometimes you have family members that are using and are addicted and we don't really know, or you may come across a situation where a neighbor has fallen and they have a very short window there. I'm so glad that we're carrying it now. Short window to get them help that they need. And how do you get them help? You revive them, first of all, make sure life-saving issues, and that Narcan it's unbelievable. It works perfectly, like almost every single time if they get it in time. And then what we do is once we do a Narcan, then we reach out to the you know, the people that are there, the friends, and make sure that we do follow-up services the next day. And does anybody else need help? Usually if somebody overdoses, the people around them are using also. And we take that opportunity to not only save that life, but then outreach to the people that are there with them and say, look, you know, we're here for you. If you're not ready today, we want to be here for you tomorrow. And we give them resources, cards, information, and help. And how the community can help is just, we got to look out for each other. You know, just call us, give us information. We have an anonymous tip line. We have text to tip. We have emails, and I encourage everybody I check my emails 10 times a day. It's just what I do. And if they just give us information on what the public thinks we should know. A lot of times the public, you get kind of complacent. Well, somebody else will call. Maybe they won't. Maybe they're thinking the same thing. Information is what we need to do our job. And I understand we take that information. It may not seem like we're doing much, but a lot of times, especially with complaints about drug activity, we are launching investigations. It's just not visible, but we have to build a case and things like that. I guess information, giving us information, working with us, and allowing us to be good partners and good community members.
Are you satisfied with your budget and with the things that you want to accomplish next year?
What we went through here recently is a normal budget cycle where I present my budget, all department heads. The mayor makes his initial cuts. He made some drastic cuts to my budget. Not completely happy, but I'm going to survive, I guess, you know. And then the city council made some additional cuts. They seem a little tough right now, but we will manage. If I need to go back for some extra funds during the year, I believe I did watch the meeting, and they were encouraging us to come back in the fall. And we have to, and I understand the reality of it is we don't know what the state level funding for local aid will be. So if I find myself struggling with, obviously I'm going to make some cuts. There's going to be a little bit of there's going to be some pains like anywhere else in the country, but you know, we're going to try to get through the year. And if I have to go back in the fall, I'll have good reasoning, and I will be able to explain to them what we spent out of what line item and why. And but so I'd always like a little more to do the extras. I'd like more foot patrols, bike patrols, like we've been doing at the end of this fiscal year. What I try to do is we try to really penny pinch during the slower months in the winter. So when the spring and summer start rolling in, we're able to get some bike patrols. We're able to get some foot patrols out. This time next year, we might not have that luxury based on the budget that I have in front of me. I crunch the numbers almost daily, and I just got the email late in the day yesterday, the actual final budget. So we're going to do the best we can. I'm hoping that we don't become tremendously affected. If the state and local aid doesn't come through and like free cash, if there's drastic cuts, we'll all have to, it'll be tough on all city departments, not just us. But we'll do the best we can.
Were you a police officer assigned to the schools earlier in your career? Were you a school resource officer?
Yep, for almost 4 years.
Okay. You know, now there's a lot of, the national conversation is what are the police doing in schools? And I'd love to get your perspective as a former school resource officer on that. What do you think?
Oh, perfect. I think taking the police officers out of the school is just really ridiculous. The police officers, we have 2 in Holyoke, and all of the schools in Holyoke, we have 2 at the high schools. And I'll tell you, I would think that most seniors and sophomores and most of the kids in those schools have a great relationship with those officers. Just before, as an example, just before COVID, we're there for, there's a little, but it's a comfort feeling for the students and staff and everybody as far as security goes, but we're not there for that. We're there for more building relationships. At the Holyoke High School, just before COVID kind of curtailed it, we were actually working on a program to where students would be like given credits to work with the police and have like a cadet program and think about students that might be interested in, that have born and raised in Holyoke, going to Holyoke Public Schools, to come over, go to HCC, and then transition right into a career here at the Holyoke Police Department, a credit program. So that's not what you see. You know, we can't cave into all of these demands without giving them good thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, this is, take a look at, every community might be different. If a community has a focus and they're like, their officers are told to, you know, we don't get involved in school discipline at all. We want to build relationships. We want kids to come out of that school that might want to be police officers to come right over, and then we know them, you know, and they're part of the community. I was a school resource officer when the mayor was at Peck, and it was fantastic, you know, and it's just, I worked with the mediation, Patty Jennings from mediation at the time. And we were involved. I knew the parents, we knew the students. I see them to this day, and I have great relationships with them, and they're adults, you know, they're 30 years old now. It's like, it's kind of cool. And they see police officers maybe different. And Holyoke's a community where you need to see police officers other than in an enforcement role. They need to see us out here helping people. Seeing us in the schools is a great place to start young, where most police officers, when I was growing up, I didn't know any police officers. I grew up in Churchill. I didn't know. I didn't have neighbors or anybody who was on the police department, nothing. My first interaction with the police were kind of like when I got on the job. It's just the way it was. So I didn't know. I didn't really have an opinion almost most either way. Just kind of ended up here and things worked out, but it's great to have it. Police in the schools. I hope we don't take that direction in the city. I want the police officers in the schools. I want them to continue to do the great job that they do. I want other communities, if they're struggling and calling for an end of the SRO program, just maybe relook at what are your, you know, what's going on. Look at arrests. Are your officers in the schools making arrests, or are you in there building relationships? Do arrests happen in the school from time to time? Of course they do, and they're warranted sometimes. If somebody brings a weapon to school, gotta go. There's just no room for that. But once you set that bar and they know that drugs, things like that, somebody tries to sell drugs in school, they gotta go. But once there's an arrest, then you gotta reach out and get to that kid and try to change his views and his philosophies and try to help him. And I believe everybody can trip up in life and deserve second and third chances, a little bit of relapse. And people just sometimes need to, especially at a young age, you mess up and it's okay. But I don't know. I think I'm getting sidetracked as I always do, but I think officers in the school are very important. I would hate to think that we would take them out of the schools for any political reasons. I don't think it's the right move.
There's a national conversation, as you know, is started by the Black Lives Matter, and it seems to have pitted the police on a national level versus the Black Lives Matter movement as if they wanted different things, when in fact police officers want peace and Black Lives Matter want peace. How do you, as a police chief, educate and inform your officers about, look, we're all on the same side. Being for Black Lives Matter does not mean that you're against police. And being for police doesn't mean you're against Black Lives Matter.
Right. I think I'm going to be just straight shooting as I always am. I think it's more of a national media thing is fueling this problem that really isn't there. Like an example, if we had the march here in Holyoke, it was peaceful. I marched down with everybody. There was no issues, not one violent flare-up or anything. You know, it was a little tense at times because people have strong views, but it's not us against them. I mean, if you look at how many incidents you have across the country, I mean, we just don't have the amount of police interaction with the community across the United States, the amount of calls for service, the amount of conversations, the amount of arrests or incidents that they have across the country. And for the very, very few, less than maybe 1% of issues that make national attention, it doesn't mean that now all of a sudden all cops are bad. And it's so bizarre to me. It makes no sense at all. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I just see it as like, wow. During COVID-19 in March, boy, we were the only ones out on the road, and everybody was buckled down, and we were heroes, and everybody was nurses and doctors and police and firemen, commercials, and we were great. And then you have an incident like that, which was murder, no question. Not one police officer in this country is defending that. I'm as disgusted as anybody else with what I saw. But now, just a few weeks after that incident, the police they're canceling police shows on TV. You live PD and cops and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden, we're like bad people. And it's so wrong. It's not fair. I'll use myself as an example. So I've 25 years I've been on this job. I've no complaints. I'm here to do a great job. I'm a product of the Holyoke Public Schools. I went to Lawrence. I went to Morgan. I went to Peck. I went to Holyoke High School. I went to Holyoke Community College and then Westfield State. And I started with nothing. And I worked really, really hard. And I take a lot of pride in what I do here. And I take a lot of pride in my department. And these guys do here. And we don't do that. And to be roped in to this national all cops are bad movement or whatever they're saying, it's so wrong. It's so sad. It's pathetic. And it's frustrating. And it kind of breaks your heart. Who are they, or who is somebody? And I'm not talking about any specific movement, but to say that we're all bad and they should burn cop cars in the big cities and things like that. It's just not fair. I think most of the cops in this country want to do a good job, and they're from the communities that they police, and they care. They put their lives on the line to do a great job, and they're going to continue to do that. And it's frustrating to go from, like I said, COVID heroes to like the focus of everybody's anger and all of their issues and agendas, and it's pretty sad. It is what it is. But I think it'll pass. I think there will be some reform. I think nationally, I think there should be some reform. I think a lot of departments can look at ours and learn from what we've done. And it's not new. We're not doing it today because of all of this. We've done it. We started 10 years ago. And we have a community policing focus and philosophy. We have a young department that we don't even let them on the road by themselves until we know and we're comfortable. And our supervisors have seen them interact with the community and know that they're not out there getting out of line. And if somebody does, we correct it immediately, at so many levels. We just won't, I'm not having it. I won't have it at the top, so they're going to have it all the way down the line here. And if something happens, I own it.
Well, but there is so much to say about it, because it's as you said so eloquently, during the beginnings of COVID, everybody says, cheers, the police, you're heroes. Thank you, police. And then as we get back to a little bit, not normalized, but the state starts opening up, and this is not just here, this is across the country. Now the police are bad again. And it's like, what's it like to be in a profession where you're constantly being battered or praised? Either you're in one shift, you can be the devil, and just a couple hours later, you're the savior. That kind of, slapping back and forth. What's that like, day in and day out?
It's not easy. It's rough. And I study this. I have to, because I have to know what's going on all across the country to inform my guys. And my guys are, they're well educated. They're smart. They watch the news. They know what's going on. They're very grateful and thankful that we have. Holyoke is a great community. It really is. I mean, we have issues and problems like anybody else, but for the size community we have and some of the drug issues that we have and gang issues, I think we are a very good city. And I think the majority of the people in this country do appreciate the police and do understand that we're here to help and we do a good job. And I think it's like they say, the silent majority. It's a little disheartening that the silent majority is so silent right now, because we are completely it's almost like we should be embarrassed to be a cop or ashamed. I'm not. I'm proud, and my guys are proud, and I talk to them every day, and we communicate every day, and I try to make sure morale is as high as it can be. But some of this stuff you see is just uncalled for. It's unfair. So what it's like to be a police officer right now, it's tough. It's stressful. It's challenging. We just try to keep our best foot forward and understand that people are really good. And most of the people do appreciate what we do. It's just the media, they don't get the media attention. The media is focusing, national media is focusing on all of the negative stuff. And you can see examples of the stories are just being told from one side. They're not really being fully They're being sensationalized.
Yeah, if you could go before the national media, say they were having a conference on Zoom or something, and you could speak to them, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC, all of them, the New York Times, just everybody, and say something to them regarding their coverage, because it's true, they do sensationalize, they do clickbait. This is how basically they're selling soap. That's their mission. And that's why they need advertising. Is there a statement you would make to them in terms of how to be fair? Because it's true. Police are demonized, and then on the other side, and like for instance, in this case, Black Lives Matter, which is rightly praised for its mission, but that doesn't have to come at the price of the police being demonized. There are those individuals, but it's not 18,000 police departments across this country with each single officer being a demon. So
Correct.
What would you say? Yeah, go.
I'm going to say it. I don't have exactly what you just said. I couldn't say it any better. I would say that right there. I couldn't. Believe me when I tell you, I could not say it any better than you. As I'm listening to you, I'm going, that's what I would say. That's what I would say. I would say be fair. Call out the officers that are bad across the country, because they're out there. Of course, call them out if they need to be charged, arrested, and treated like any other lawbreaker. Then that's what you do, and that's what I would do here. But don't demonize every police officer across the country. It's not fair. It's not safe for the country. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. It's just unbelievable. Like some of the stuff you see. I mean, and it's mainstream media. I find myself turning off the TV, not trying to take a mental break from watching it, because it's just kind of ridiculous. And I don't know where it's going to lead to.
But at the same time, Chief, there are Facebook posts. Remember the police officer in Chicopee who on his personal account said some things that were just really off. They were racist. And there are other Facebook pages, there are a lot of police officers, and I'm not, if there are 18,000 police departments, I can't even imagine how many police officers, hundreds of thousands of police officers.
Right.
So, it is a minority, very teensy-weensy part of the police force population. Is there any way to get a handle on that? Because the police officers will feel that they're being attacked and they attack back. And then there's no...
Yeah, no. Yes. I tell my guys, and we know here, as a police officer, you learn as part of your training process, especially in this department. We tell, look, you got to have some thick skin. You're going to be people. If you give somebody a ticket, it's your fault. Not that they were speeding. It's your fault. You can't win. I'll give you an example. You can't win sometimes. I'll give you an example. Early on in my career, I want to say I was probably 5 years on the job, and we got numerous complaints from the captain, sent a bunch of us up speeding on Hamden Street towards Route 5. Said, okay, they complained every single day about we're not doing anything. The cops are bad. They're not doing anything. Not bad, but we're just not doing enough. So we go up there, 4 cruisers. I remember this, and we wrote some tickets, and we stopped probably 100 cars in a 10-hour period. And it was right. There was a speeding problem. But what happened later? It was the same people that were complaining, because they live up there, that we were given tickets. And they were literally yelling at us going, well, it's not us. We live here. You should get the other. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So we're getting yelled at because we're not doing our jobs. You don't do your jobs. Don't you have something better to do? There's drug dealers downtown, all this other stuff. So we're not doing our job if we don't up there and monitor tickets. And then when we go up there and we do it and write tickets, we're the bad guys again. I'm like, wow. And that was an early impression of my career where I realized we've got to get some thick skin. So my guys know that we're going to take some heat no matter what we do. It's just part of the job, and we accept it. We own it. It's okay. We allow people to vent. People yell at us all the time, and domestics and things like that, or just disturbing scenes. And we become, when they're in crisis, we become a little bit of the focus of their venting. And that's kind of okay. It's kind of okay. Not at the level we're seeing across the country, but.
Yeah, I wonder how many of us would be able to keep our composure if just about every day we were yelled at and for doing our jobs exactly the way taxpayers want us to do our jobs. If they're speeding,
Yes.
you know, the firecrackers.
So you mentioned, Chief, that you tell the officers in Holyoke Police Department to have a thick skin, so that way there is a good management of the different situations and calls that they respond to. Now, thinking about a recent statement by the mayor declaring racism a mental health issue and a health issue, and seeing that at the same time, it was a month ago when you made your statement declaring also that police brutality is not accepted and the Holyoke Police Department will not stand for any of those behaviors. I want to focus the attention on individuals in the community that may have some sort of racist actions or expressions that are hurtful for the community. What will be your message to them?
Well, people have their own. When you grow up with, like, I mean, whatever your opinions are. My message to everybody, the community, is that the Holyoke Police Department is reflective of the community. People like myself, I think 40% minority, I think roughly right around there, of guys that grew up in the community, in every single neighborhood. We have police officers here in Holyoke that grew up in the flats. We have some that grew up in South Holyoke. I grew up in Churchill. We have some from every neighborhood, even West Holyoke, even up in the Highlands and Oakdale. We are the community. We understand the issues in the community. We understand where our resources and focuses should be. We're very, very professional. If there's a complaint, I would say if somebody feels that one of our officers is not doing or is making comments or is not being professional, we have a complaint process that's thoroughly investigated, and I personally read every complaint that comes in through our IA department. But there's not many. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not many complaints that come in because we do a pretty good job. So I just don't know. I encourage people to speak up. If you see something, speak up. Say something, and don't be afraid to let a supervisor know, or call down here, or send me an email, chiefofpolice@holyokepd.org. I encourage you, send me emails. I get emails all day, every day. I read through them. If some of them are complaints about drug dealing, or some of them are complaints about speeding, we ship them off to the either patrol units or the detectives to look into it. I say, please speak up. And a lot of times, people who feel that they had an incident, whether it's a racist incident or whatever, a lot of things can be cleared up with just a conversation and an explanation of what exactly transpired. I have no problem sitting down with a community member and an officer or two and meet and talk. So this is how you saw the event. This is how he saw the event. This is why you were in crisis, acting whatever happened, and this is how and why we were thinking. Conversations can clear up almost every problem, because people's interpretation of events, especially when they're in crisis and scenes are a little chaotic, often get distorted and confused, and people bring in their own thoughts and ideas as to why people are doing things. And once you sit down and you have a conversation, an adult conversation, you realize that you come to an understanding that it wasn't always what it seemed or whatever. So a lot of times I would just encourage people to call, let us know, send emails. I guess that's really it.
Thank you very much, Chief Febo, for giving us your time, having this conversation with us. We hope then to touch base with you on a more frequent basis as well, to talk about the issues of the day, anything you want to make sure that gets out there. Thank you. We appreciate this very much.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain, and because the fireworks has been a real thorn in my side and everybody's side. And like I said, it's an issue that I'm happy to address. And it's, as you know, I don't do a lot of media stuff, but I definitely love and respect what you guys do here for the citizens in Holyoke media. You're fair. You just the facts only. So whenever you want, we can do it on a regular basis. I don't care. I always respond to you.
Thank you.